When people talk about the early days of the Alice Cooper Band, the conversation usually jumps to Love It to Death, the album that finally broke them into the mainstream with I'm 18 and introduced the world to the menacing theatrical hard rock that would make Alice a household name. But long before that breakthrough, 7 months earlier, in fact, there was another record. A record almost no one bought, a record the critics dismissed, a record even the band's own producer didn't understand. That record was Easy Action. Today it stands as one of the most underrated, misunderstood, and strangely beautiful chapters in the Alice Cooper story, a hidden gem that most fans never took the time to appreciate. This is the story of Easy Action, the album that failed, but helped create one of the biggest rock bands of the 1970s. To understand Easy Action, you have to understand where Alice Cooper was in 1970. Not the shock rock icon, not the superstar, but the weirdest band in Los Angeles. Their debut, Pretty's For You, had been a chaotic swirl of psychedelic sounds, half-formed concepts, and bizarre experimentation. Even Alice himself later referred to that era as the band's early confused phase. They were caught between the psychedelic trippiness of the late 60s and the hard-edged rock they wanted to play. They hadn't found their identity, and in Hollywood, nobody really knew what to make of them. As Dennis Dunaway put it, nobody could relate to us in Hollywood. We were the laughingstock of town. But in their minds, they were already becoming something bigger, something heavier, and Easy Action would be the first real glimpse of that transformation. The album was recorded in late 1969 at Sun West Studios in Hollywood, and the sessions were dominated by one thing. Producer David Briggs absolutely hated the band. Briggs was famous for working with Neil Young, an artist he respected. Alice Cooper, on the other hand, not so much. Drummer Neil Smith didn't mince words. David hated our music. He called it psychedelic shit. Smith even recalled Briggs flat out mocking the band during the sessions. On Lay Down and Die Goodbye, he said, "Oh well, we'll put on this psychedelic shit now." There was no collaboration, no guidance, no vision. Briggs refused to help with arrangements, had no interest in shaping the songs, and showed almost zero enthusiasm, except for one rare moment when he sat down at a piano and played on Shoe Salesman. Dennis Dunaway remembered that brief spark. It was one of the few times he seemed to care about the sessions. So while production was cleaner and more focused on the debut, it was also flat, dry, and emotionally disconnected, almost clinical. And yet, despite that, Easy Action still managed to capture something magical, something raw, something important, something the band themselves didn't even fully realize at the time. Easy Action is the moment Alice Cooper began shedding its psychedelic skin and evolving into the harder, more theatrical rock machine they would soon become. On the popular track Mr. and Misdemeanor, you can hear something in Alice's voice, a sneer, a rasp, a swagger that wasn't there before. He was no longer singing like a psychedelic pop vocalist. He was becoming Alice Cooper. This was the birth of that trademark Alice Cooper snarl. Then there's Return of the Spiders, arguably the first true hard-rocking Alice Cooper song. Loud guitars, buzzing riffs, pounding drums. It's a direct ancestor of everything they do on Love It to Death. Neil Smith later said Return of the Spiders was my favorite track. It was our perspective on our journey to fame, and for fans, it's the first genuine sign of the band they were about to become. The band also stretched out musically. Below You Means showcased guitar interplay and even featured lead vocals from Michael Bruce. The haunting Refrigerator Heaven explored darker lyrical themes about a cryogenically frozen cancer patient. And the sprawling Lay Down and Die Goodbye is a wild, free-form psychedelic piece with a spoken word intro from comedian Tom Smothers. Dennis Dunaway said of that track, "I liked it because it contained a free-form sound collage of that was disturbing. I would have been happy if the whole album was like that." The band was experimenting, discovering themselves, pushing into darkness, heaviness, and theatrics. And even if critics didn't hear it, the DNA of the future Alice Cooper was all right there. While the hard rock elements were emerging, some songs still held on to the band's psychedelic roots. Shoe Salesman, the album's lone single, has a Beatles influence, Alice even admitted it was their attempt at a simple three-chord ballad. Beautiful Fly Away is described by Michael Bruce as my attempt at being George Harrison. Laughing at Me dips into Bowie-like territory, the mixture of early 70s hard rock, 60s psychedelia, and oddball pop, part of what makes Easy Action so unique. It's so hard to categorize. Critics at the time certainly had trouble figuring it out. When Easy Action was released in March 27, 1970, the reaction was brutal. It didn't chart at all, even though their debut had at least scraped the bottom of the charts at 193. It actually sold less than Pretty's For You. Critics were confused, dismissive, or downright hostile. Robert Christgau of The Village Voice gave it a C, calling it tuneless singing, tuneless playing, tuneless tunes. Rolling Stone wrote, there's nothing nearly that interesting. The pretty stuff sounds like something Walt Disney had the good sense to leave in the can. A few reviewers did get it, calling the band unusually versatile and an extremely good hard rock group, but those voices were drowned out by negativity. The band was discouraged, the label didn't know what to do with them, Hollywood had turned its back, and yet, without this failure, the band might have never become legends. One thing fans did love, the album cover. Neil Smith came up with the idea of photographing the band with their backs to the camera, their long hair pouring down. As you put it, it was my idea to stand backwards because I had the longest hair in the band. We always tried to do something different. It was simple, strange, and memorable, a perfect reflection of the music inside. By mid-1970, Alice Cooper looked like a band going nowhere. 2 albums in a row, 2 commercial flops, a producer who hated them, a label that didn't understand them, so they did something bold. They left Los Angeles and moved to Detroit. Detroit embraced their weirdness, embraced their heaviness, it embraced the raw garage rock underbelly of the sound. And in Detroit, they would meet one crucial person, Bob Ezrin. Ezrin would bring discipline, clarity, explosive power, and theatricality to their ideas. The very next album, Love It to Death, would unleash their breakthrough single, I'm 18, and the rest is history. But that transformation wasn't sudden. Started right here on an album that failed, flopped, and almost disappeared. Today, Easy Action has been rediscovered by fans and collectors as a crucial, fascinating, transitional album. It's not perfect, but that's what makes it great. It's the sound of a band becoming the Alice Cooper Band. It's the moment. The snarl arrived, the hard rock guitars arrived, the darker themes arrived, the experimentation took shape, and the identity began forming. It's a snapshot of a band on the verge of something historic. Even if the world didn't see it yet, in the end, Easy Action is like a rough sketch of a masterpiece, a blueprint where all the pieces were finally coming together, even if nobody realized what they were looking at. If you enjoyed this deep dive, want to keep exploring the band's earliest and strangest years, make sure to check out my review of Pretty's For You, where I talk about the unbelievable story of the band meeting Frank Zappa and showing up at his house at 7 o'clock in the morning, thinking he wanted to hear him play right then and there. One of the most bizarre and hilarious moments in the early Alice Cooper history, and sets the stage for everything that would follow. If you love rock and metal history, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Don't miss future deep dives, album reviews, and hidden gems from across the genre. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one, starting way back at the weird while beginning with Pretty's For You right over there.